welcome to a new week, traders. Joseph here from Eightcap. So we're going to run through a bit of our weekly outlook. So we didn't do it last Monday due to a public holiday here in Australia. So I'm going to look over some of the key news that's coming out, and then just have a look at some of the markets as they're opening and getting into Monday's trading session. So really, some of the key ones this week are going to be the FOMC, we have the Euro Summit, and we have the RBA rate decision as well. So starting on Monday today, we have some Chinese data, industrial production coming out from China and retail sales. So traders will be having a look at that just to see how things are traveling in the Chinese economy as it continues to really have some mixed opinions as stimulus being put forward to help the equity markets, and also the real estate market looks like it's just being left to really settle on its own at this stage. So it'll be interesting to see if that does continue to really impact the economy. It does. We just saw recently that the government isn't going to support them. So the iron ore demand coming to Australia is forecast to drop significantly from China to Australia. So that will have a knock-on effect here as well. So moving on to Tuesday, we have a few things coming out to keep an eye on. So have the Bank of Japan's policy statement and rate decision. There was some talk about moving out of negative interest rates last week through the Bank of Japan. So we'll see what comes out in the statement if that talk does continue. Tuesday's a pretty busy one because we have not only the Bank of Japan, but we have the RBA cash rate as well and their statement. So rates are expected to remain on hold on both fronts, but definitely with that being a double header, and we have both of them coming out during that day, we could see some pretty good movements in the Aussie yen. So that's one to keep a watch on. I think the real thing will be what both banks say in the statements and whether we see any surprises in the message, and also with the Bank of Japan if there's any changes to their bond buying program as well. That could cause some pretty big movements coming out. So moving on throughout that day, we have Canadian CPI coming out 11:30 p.m. Local time here as well. And then moving on to Wednesday, we have UK data coming out with CPI data. So looking for 3.5% year on year, which is a decent drop below that 4% they saw last time. So there's 4.1 under the 5.1 as well. So moving into Thursday, we have another big one coming in for the week. That's the Fed coming in, and the rate decision. So rates are expected to stay on hold at 5.5, and I think a lot of traders will be looking to see the statement that comes out, some of the comments, and how they're seeing things. So I think universally that we are seeing some mixed messages that they are looking to start putting rates lower, but they still need to see certain things move in the right direction for them to be able to make that decision. So it sounds like the bias will stay similar, but we'll see if there's anything surprising in the statement. We also have Kiwi GDP coming out, and they're looking for 0.1%. Then on Thursday as well, we have Australian employment data. They're looking for 4% on unemployment, so a slight decrease, and then they're also looking for 40.2k jobs created. If that does blow out a bit, that could impact the RBA here, and with their current projection on rates as well. So it becomes in very, very hot, that jobs data that could impact it. So I think a lot of people here locally will be watching that. So Thursday remains the busiest day of the week data-wise. So on top of the Fed and the AU employment, we have the Swiss National Bank's interest rate decision. They're looking for a hold as well. And then we have the flash manufacturing services and PMI data coming out throughout the week, and that's for the EU, the UK, France, Germany, and we finish off as usual with the US data. So very busy one coming in on Thursday. Now that US flash data just moves into Friday session, and we have retail sales on Friday to cap it off with the Euro Summit as well all day. So if you are trading the Euro, definitely keep an eye on that Euro Summit during the day, as any comments could send some volatility through the Euro during the day. So, and then to cap it off, we have comments from Fed Chair Powell into Saturday morning. So definitely a busier week coming up data wise. So just looking at some of the markets so far today, we can see Bitcoin finished the weekend stronger, but we can see a bit of a flat session at the moment. So buyers did start the session a bit firmer this week. We did test that just above 68,741, but we have pulled back a little bit at the moment, but it's still positive. Ethereum's up 0.3%. BNB's dropped down, it's at that minus 0.78%, and Sol continues to charge after last week, an amazing run last week, all the way back up to $200 this morning, so 201. And to put that in perspective, you can just see last week on the weekly chart just how amazing that's been, and then following up with today's session as well, another close to 3%. So last week we had, it's 25% out of last week, and then combining with this week, this morning really, we're seeing 38.85% at this stage. So that just shows you that cryptos continue to do what they do, and when they're under very strong bullish drivers, the momentum upwards and downwards can just be something that you really just can't fight against. And you can just see that tide here at the moment with Sol and how fast and high it's running at this stage. So you continue to see just how far it goes up, and if there's any pullbacks, if there is price action suggesting that it will continue, and long bias to suggest that possible long entries there. So, but otherwise, some of the other crypto markets are trying to recover after some pullbacks, and we can see that really across the boards here after some pretty deep moves lower yesterday on a lot of the coins. We can see that really nice bar here with nice rejection tails, and we'll continue to watch them today and see into the next few days this week if we do see continuations start to form and recoveries back up to the long side. So this is really apparent over majority of the major coins, bar Sol at this stage, as it's running its own race. We can see here with Ethereum similar pattern here, and on Bitcoin as before. But the issue here is we just need to see some bullish momentum and drive to the upside after Friday's deep pullbacks from lows. So moving on, so gold, it continues to be range bound after that real nice run we saw last week, and then we saw that pullback. It did touch a high of 21, close to 21.95, and then we did see a bit of a pullback, and it's stable at the moment. There's support seen at 21.53. Gold will be one to watch this week with some of the USD news coming out midweek with the Fed, and the dollar itself, the index is slightly higher at this stage. Saw a nice fight back last week after a couple some pretty big declines. Resistance really does present at 103.67 and short-term support at 102.67. It looks poised to try and push further to the upside, but I think it will need drivers. We want to see that support hold for buyers, but if we did see a new move down and that support broken, that could be a bit of a worry. We do have a breaker trend here, lower high and dip lower, and this could turn into another lower high as well. So continue to see what's next there. And oil, which had a strong week last week, finally closing above $80. It still continues to trade around that 81. Well, we want to see if it can make that next step and break above last week's high this week and set up a new high. There's plenty of support down at 77.82 if we do see any declines, and it does look like it's trying to push on with a continuation higher. Some of the other currencies this morning so far a little bit mixed. We're seeing the Aussie lower, the euro and the pound lower to the dollar. Dollar CAD is slightly higher, and the Kiwi slightly higher, and things are mixed to the yen at this stage. Stock indices, we did see some weakness to finish off last week. There's some minor support here for the Nasdaq at 17,809, and with the US 30, some demand as well, sitting around that 38,669 area, and the S&P we are seeing support as well, 51.18. So I think the real key here is what do we see this week from the Fed, and what message do we get, and will that be enough to hold some of these support levels and maintain this trend, and will we see some fightbacks to try and test some of those resistance areas? If not, we could see a deeper plunge, and that could put a bit of pressure on the short-term trend up at this higher point, and then if we do see a pullback, then we'll just look to see if we see higher lows form, and if we then see new continuation coming into play. This is a pretty solid long-term trend. It's going to take a bit to break it, so it's way too early to off a consolidation like that to start calling a major trend change. It's very normal to see pullbacks and minor and deeper pullbacks in the trend before it does continue on again. So we'll just see, give this a bit of time and see what develops next price wise as it continues to trade throughout the week with some of the influences coming out this week from news wise. So just with the yen pairs coming up till tomorrow with the Bank of Japan, so you can see the Aussie at the moment is pretty flat. It's sort of range trading. See the euro is in a little bit of a better position, but we can see that break of trend there. A lot will come down to see if we do get tests of the previous highs that we saw a couple of weeks ago. Do we see any big changes from the Bank of Japan to their policy? And if this does favour risk markets and puts the yen down, we see moves up. But I think it would be surprising to see any major moves up against the yen when the Bank of Japan has been trying to maintain a status quo recently with the yen not dropping too low. So it will be a bit of a balancing act to see. And on top of that, they can't have a yen trading too high, as it's going to start to put pressure on certain areas of the economy as well, including exports primarily, and that's going to have a bit of an impact on the JPN 225, which we'll have a quick look at here. And we can see how high it got not too long ago, those records, and touching, getting to that 40,000 point before this pullback here. So will we see support continue to hold from 38,199, and can buyers start to form something here, or will we see a new test of those support points down the lows? Now the ASX is trading at this stage. It's 11 past 10. We can just have a look at how it's tracking. I think there'll be a little bit of speculation to see what happens with rates. Rates are subject to be on hold, but will we hear anything really from the RBA confirming that the rate cuts are on the agenda? There's a lot of speculation. We'll see them in the second half. If we do see rate cuts and if we do see jobs data remain pretty decent on Thursday and not really surprise massively to the upside, hopefully we'll see buyers continue to hold support from 76.31, and we've seen a few tests there be rejected from sellers, and then we'll see if we can get a rally going. But at this stage it does look like it's a break off after a trend, and if we did see any further bearish momentum in terms of influence, it wouldn't surprise us if we see new tests lower, just to see where buyers are at. So that's some of the things we are keeping an eye on, and some prices we are checking out during this week and some of the news. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for tuning in. Wish you all the best for your trading this week, and until our next update, good trading and bye for now.